Hello and welcome to a special show on HornbillTV. After 20 years of a long stall, Nagaland recently concluded its ULB elections, which was successful and peaceful at large as stated by the State Election Commission. The ULB elections held this year was not only unique for the state of Nagaland but historical, as Nagaland urban local body polls introduced a historic 33% reservation for women for the first time, with female candidates spanning ages 22 to 71 taking part in the election. And to paint you a better picture, both the youngest and the oldest winning candidates are women, but in the end, Nagaland officially has councillors representing their respective wards, and there is hope that the amenities in the wards all over Nagaland will improve, or rather see a brighter day. But with that being said, today at Hornbill TV, we are delighted to have with us the Nagaland State Election Commissioner and former DGP, T. John Longkumer, with us, and we will speak to him about the general overview of the urban local body elections and also try and read his mind as to how the Commission intends to strengthen the electoral process in the state. First of all, sir, thank you so much and for giving us your time. You must be pretty be, but you give us your time. Thank you for joining us at Hornbill TV, getting into the crux of the matter, coming directly and on a very personal point of view. So the controversy behind the ULB elections in Nagaland is quite well known and wide ranged. The Supreme Court had to intervene, and after which Nagaland successfully held its first, after 20 years, a successful and a peaceful ULB elections. So you were appointed as the State Election Commissioner in the month of Jan this year, and within a matter of few months you had to formulate all the data of the electoral rolls, and then you had to announce a particular date as to when the ULB polls would be held. Not only that, during this whole span, 2024 witnessed the Lok Sabha elections to the Parliament too, and it was during this phase too that you also had to formulate a date, and you had to ensure that the ULB process was over within a stipulated time period. So now in this regard, in your personal view, because you had to rush things up, or rather you were given a timeline, so what were some of the unique unique features, or rather issues that you faced in completing the whole ULB process? And also, how did the state government assist you, and also the department, the Urban Municipal Affairs? How was the coordination between the State Election Commission and the departmental bodies?
Thank you, Akivito, first for having me here at Hornbill.
Yes.
And your question was quite a long one, but I'll break it up into two parts.
Yes.
First is that the kind of support, the kind of coordination we had with the government. I must say that by sheer coincidence, maybe, or by God's grace, the coordination was excellent. And we did not have any issues at all. The Chief Secretary was most supportive, as well as the state government also gave us a nodal officer in the form of Mr. Jamitong, who is an additional secretary, a rank officer in the government. So he was our state nodal officer. Plus also, like, we had a state police nodal officer in the form of Mr. Limasanap, IGP range PHQ. So the coordination was excellent and we had no issues at all. Now coming to the first part of your question, we had the issue of some pressures on us, in the sense that this Nagaland ULB elections was under the direct supervision of the Supreme Court of India, and we had to complete our tasks within the stipulated time frame that the Supreme Court had given us. And I'm glad, like to say, that our state election commission officers, they worked hard, and we got the full support of the government, and therefore, like, we could achieve like the end result.
it's been like more than 20 years. Most of the people in Nagaland had forgotten what the ULB polls were and why these are important for the state, why the election was important for the state. So coming back, sir, you were at the helm of the successful ULB polls that just took place recently. So during your press conference after the polling day too, you had termed the ULB elections as peaceful and it went on successfully. So what are the major takeaways from this ULB polls for the State Election Commission too, and be it positive or negative, what are some of the takeaways that you found out during this ULB polls?
Yes. First of all, like the first part of the statement you made,
Yes.
that it was historic.
Yes.
I too agree with that, because like this has happened after 20 years.
Yes.
The main obstacle to this was the political issue of the 33% reservation for women. And I'm glad to say, and also to give credit where it is due, the state government, the previous state government, had undertaken more than a year and a half of painstaking consultative meetings
Yes.
with all the stakeholders, the tribal hosts, the NGOs, the student bodies, the church. Therefore, like this important political issue was resolved, that we had now finally accepted to have the 33% reservation for women. So that was historic. That was also the reason why this time the ULB elections was more or less peaceful. The takeaways from this is that, like, first of all, many of the officers reported from the ground that there was actually one person, one vote strictly, and like there were queues, there were long queues of people, voters, waiting patiently to cast their franchise. So I think this shows the way forward for us, that the voters are keen to have peaceful elections. Therefore, we in the State Election Commission, as well as I request the state government, that we should ensure peaceful elections so that the people, each and every one of them, can cast their votes in peace. Yeah.
All right, sir, you had mentioned in the earlier part at the beginning that the Supreme Court had given its directives and then they had given a time. So, sir, for you being the State Election Commissioner, did you face any kind of extra pressure or unique pressure? Because this ULB elections that were taking place in Nagaland was not only anxiously looked by the whole country, basically all media outlets were also just looking at Nagaland as to whether it could hold the ULB polls or not. But also there was added supervision, or rather there was added monitoring by the Supreme Court too. So did this pose to you as a unique challenge, or did you find this quite unrelenting in the end, sir?
Yeah, well, yes, the pressure, it was a unique situation where we had the country's Supreme Court supervising
Yes.
the entire process of the ULB elections. But due to the coordination and the support from the state government, we could keep to the time frame.
Yes.
We could announce the elections in time before the Supreme Court hearing. Thereafter, we gave a schedule that this is our schedule to have the elections, and by 29th of June, we would have completed the process, results will be declared. So the Supreme Court agreed, and that's the way it went, and glad to say that it went off well.
All right, so India is the largest democracy, and elections is one of the biggest franchisees that the world will ever get to see in India, being one of the most populous states. Also regarding elections in India is that whenever there is an election, normally there's always this mindset as to the elections are on, so there'll be a lot of fighting, there'll be a lot of pulling each other. So, but when it comes to the state of Nagaland, so it's being perceived by all as being the most peaceful one. So, sir, what are your comments on that, sir?
No, I'm glad you asked that question. because I also thought a lot about it, and now I can say this the cause of these peaceful elections was that all the stakeholders, they stepped forward. And for example, we had the tribal ho-hos stepping forward and asking for peace during the elections. We had the church like coming forward and asking for peace, and all the NGOs also. So the civil administration and the police administration were really strengthened by these support, not just moral but sometimes also like on the ground. They received the support of the various councils, the various ward committees, the NGOs. So we were able to coordinate and have a peaceful election. Here I would also comment upon the good work done by the Nagaland police. They went in for a lot of preemptive detentions, which helped the whole situation. Imagine if 300 odd like misguided youth would have been free to act like the way they would have acted violently during the elections. That would have created a lot of chaos and a lot of violence. But I'm glad that the police acted swiftly. They went in for preventive detention, which really helped the situation. So in the end, Akivuto, I would like to say that let this be a template for the coming elections also, whether it is the assembly elections or the Lok Sabha, that all the stakeholders, the tribal ho-hos, the NGOs, the church, all come together and ensure that we have a peaceful election, that the voter can go out and vote on their own, without any help or without any proxy, which is, we have to be honest, which happens sometimes. So I think this is the way forward.
All right, now, sir, coming to the processes and the complexities that come along with the ULB polls. So when the date of the election or ULB elections was announced, amongst the public on the ground, or basically your normal citizens of Nagaland, there was quite a lot of confusion over like how the wards were allocated, demarcated, and also which seats or which wards were reserved or unreserved. So in this regard, sir, could you give us like some details on the process as to how these were taken, and also has the State Election Commission come out with a concrete formula as to how it plans to hold ULB polls in the coming future, sir?
Well, first of all, the old Municipal Act, that was repealed in 2023 by the state government. That laid the foundation for this election. Thereafter, like the rules and regulations were formulated, as well as the demarcation of the wards. That is in the sphere of the government, the state government. That is beyond like my authority or competency. So like the state government, they went in for this demarcation, plus also in the future also, the future demarcations for municipal wards and the town council wards will be done by a select committee, high-powered committee formed by the state government.
Now, coming to the actual polling process and coming to the polling day. During polling day, when our own team, HornbillTV team, had gone out to assess the situation of the polling day, or a lot of citizens had, some of the citizens had this common problem that they had reached the polling station, but unfortunately they could not cast their votes as the votes were already casted on their behalf. And also there was instances of such happening in particular booths. So what are your thoughts on this, and how can the administration tackle such problems and ensure that, like you were stressing, that it was people could go there, one person, one vote. So how does the administration look into this matter, and what are some of the ways how these problems can be tackled, not just for ULB elections but for elections in general?
Well, I was also dismayed when I heard that some citizens would go there and find out that their votes had been cast already.
Yes.
So the larger issue is that this is the result of proxy voting.
Yes.
And as we have seen on social media, as well as on national TV, we have these instances of booth capturing.
Yes.
We have seen it in Bengal, we have seen it elsewhere.
Yes.
So this kind of booth capturing for the purpose of proxy voting,
Yes.
this is the main cause for all the disruptions,
Yes.
for all the violence that occurs like during elections.
Yes.
So I think for us Nagas, this is something that we have to really think about and to ask ourselves,
Yes.
should we go the Bengal way or should we go the Mizoram way? Mizoram, as we know,
Yes.
there the proxy voting is almost totally curbed by the stakeholders.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the stakeholders, here again I come back to our tribal hohos, the NGOs, the church, the civil administration and the security.
Yes.
Let us get together so that during the elections we do not allow such things to happen. The morality of the candidates and the voters, that too, like there is not much that the State Election Commission nor the state government can do about it.
Yes.
But our tribal hohos and the society can make it as if it is a taboo for us to steal somebody's vote. This should not happen in a Christian state. So I think all of us stakeholders, the tribal hohos, the NGOs, the wards and the colonies, the village councils, we all get together and decide and that no, we will not do it this way. That is the only answer I can see.
All right. Now coming back to after the completion of the polls, so lately it's been out in the papers and it's come to the knowledge of the media that the government is actually planning on having a framework or a regulation regarding the anti-defection or rather defection law. So in this regard, has the government consulted with the State Election Commission over this anti-defection law, and also has the State Election Commission given any suggestions to the government regarding such? And in your personal view, sir, do you think that Nagaland also needs an anti-defection law, sir?
Well, I think the government has already acted
Okay.
in this regard. Let me here again say that the anti-defection law under the 10th schedule,
Okay, sir.
which is for the Lok Sabha and the
Assembly.
Assembly,
Yes.
this does not automatically impact the ULB elections, the municipals and the town councils. For this, each and every state requires a separate law. So this has been discussed informally,
Yes.
and I think the municipal department and the state justice department,
Yes.
they have come up with an anti-defection law.
Okay. All right. Now coming to the commission itself, sir, when the Election Commission of India had formally announced the dates to the Lok Sabha, the Chief Election Commission of India had stated very clearly that in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, they will come down heavily on people who try to disrupt the electoral process. With regards to this, the State Election Commission also, after they passed the Model Code of Conduct for the ULB polls, there were instances where honorable MLAs had allegedly broken the MCC code of law. Also in this regard, sir, is the State Election Commission also taking this matter with right regard? And do you feel that the State Election Commission also will, to make the electoral process free and fair from any corruption, do you think that the State Election Commission of Nagaland too will take up stringent measures in the years to come with regards to breaking of the MCC code of conduct, and also will the State Election Commission also review the way candidates or candidate supporters campaign? Because we did see a lot of news where the police had detained a lot of youths because of being, as Section 144 was imposed, a lot of youths had been detained, and even on polling day the police were able to apprehend people who tried to disrupt the polling process. So in this regard, is the Nagaland State Election Commission also taking this matter in the right manner, and also is the State Election Commission going to be more stringent when it comes to how the election process is going on?
Well, yes, of course. We have to ensure that the model code of conduct should be enforced, first of all. But in this regard, I would also like to say that it should be voluntarily enforced by the public leaders, the candidates, the voters, the citizens. Because there is only that much that the commission and the police can do. In the end, the morality of all of it, the moral conduct, depends on the individual candidates, the individual voters. From what I have seen this time, from the youth who are vocal about such conduct, I'm very happy. They were quite vocal about it, and I think they should be, so that in the future the public leaders, the candidates themselves, they also understand and respect the sentiments of the citizens who want simply to have a clean and fair elections.
All right. Other part of it, so coming back to the elections, the State Election Commission is the apex body with regards to the urban local body polls. So during the polling process, so what were some of the common complaints that the Election Commission received, and also particularly because repoll for 2 particular wards had to be taken place due to some unseen circumstances. So what are some of the common complaints, or rather what are some of the common issues that the SEC was picked on? I mean, or they complained to the SEC?
See, my complaint, I have a complaint that we did not receive complaints at all. In fact, because the due process of law requires that one must give your complaint in written with your signature appended. That is the law. Okay. So just verbal complaints receiving, I could not take a cognizance of it, even if I felt that we should have done something. So I would appeal to all that in the future, whatever complaints are there, give it in writing under your signature. Secondly, we received just one about for a repoll that was in Dimapur, and there we also received a video clip also, which went viral.
Yes.
Anyway, so we all have eyes to see. So after we saw that, we took a deliberate decision. Yes. And that something has occurred here, and we will ask for a report from the returning officer. Yes. Whether for his opinion. Thereafter, we took a call saying, since something irregular has happened, we will have a report. And therefore, we ordered for a report. But other than that, not much by way of complaints we received. We received the complaints afterwards. Yes. After the results were declared. Now for that, we have a tribunal. Okay. We have a one-man election tribunal for the state elections, for the ULPs. So we have directed all these complaints like to the tribunal.
Okay, sir. Also, regarding the security arrangements, the Nagaland police had, in their statement, said that for the security arrangements for the ULB polls, only the Nagaland police will be required, which they were deployed in all areas where the ULB polls were to be held, even though the eastern part of Nagaland did not take part. Even though security was there, but still there were small incidents of violences here. We can take the case of Mokchung, sir. So, in that regard, do you feel that the security arrangements were okay for you, and do you believe that Nagaland does not need external security arrangements from outside, and that the Nagaland police is enough to handle the ULB elections?
Yeah, you had mentioned about the incident there in Mokchung.
Yes.
So, like for that also, a case has been registered.
Yes,
We cannot be everywhere. The police cannot be everywhere all the time. So that occurred. Yes.
Yes.
Thereafter, a case was registered, and if I recall correctly, certain detentions and arrests have been made also.
All right.
So, like that's one part of your question. The second part is this Nagaland State Police competent and capable of holding elections? I say like yes. We do not require any outside forces. There is a point here that since we did not have the elections in the 6 eastern districts, so all that additional force we could get them to be deployed elsewhere in the state. That also really helped. So my suggestion would be maybe in the future we can have the election in phases.
Okay, sir.
So that the security forces, sufficient security forces are available like for the conduct of the elections, especially if we have it in 1, 2 or 3 phases.
Okay, sir. All right. So now coming apart from the ULB polls, so you are an ex-police personnel. You are the former DGP of Nagaland. In this regard, just a little wayward, the Indian government has introduced the 3 new criminal laws, and that is going to replace the colonial Indian Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Act. And the state police force too, they are undergoing a session where it's trying to get its personnel get acclimatized to the new 3 criminal laws. So in this regard, do you have any comments over these new laws? Because there is a lot of debate going on stating that these 3 new criminal laws are making India into a police state. So do you have any comments there?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. But let me say that I believe the government is on the right track, because we have to evolve. These laws are from the 1800s.
Yes.
Therefore, like we had to adapt and to evolve. The situation in the 1800s is vastly different from the present situation. So, therefore, these laws have been enacted by the parliament.
Yes.
Therefore, like we have to follow it. Therefore, all the state police departments are going through these reorientation courses and training, and I think like this is the way forward.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us at HornbillTV and giving us your insight on the recently concluded ULB polls. And also congratulations for having a very successful ULB polls that happened basically after 20 years. And thank you for reminding the people of Nagaland too that when a person is free and motivated to vote, it can make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akivuto.
All right, so that was the Nagaland State Election Commissioner, Sir John Longkumer, and he just expressed his views on the recently concluded ULB polls. He has said that he is very satisfied that the ULB polls could take place, and also he is very satisfied with all the stakeholders that took part in this ULB process, as they made this whole electioneering campaign a little more peaceful for Sir too, and also for all those respective candidates that actually took part in the ULB polls. Sir has also said, given his suggestions as to how the people should be motivated themselves, and that the clean and fair election process starts with the individual rather than waiting for a group to actually tailor on and move forward on that regard. If every individual in Nagaland that takes part in the election process takes it in his capacity that they should vote freely and they should vote peacefully and they should conduct themselves in a proper manner, I think each and every election process will go on smoothly. And like with the NBCC championing the cause of clean and fair elections, it all starts with the individual, and that was Sir's view. Well, for more interviews like this, keep watching Hornbill TV. Goodbye.